Unapologetically Wild with me, Katie Sontag. Today, I'm very, very excited because I have a beautiful guest. Her name is Michelle, and we're going to be talking all things police force, all of her journey, and how she got to where she is today. We met 18 months ago at Tony Robbins, which is actually wild, through someone who met both of us individually, and then he realized that our energy and everything was a total match and was so excited to introduce us together. And when he did, it was wild. We were so happy. We were jumping around. It was so beautiful. We were just so happy to meet each other. And it was so amazing how our stories align and how we had served and how we get to go through that journey of no longer being in service in that way, but we get to be in service in another way for women, men, and everyone out there. And it was just so beautiful to meet Michelle. You've also met her sister, who I had on my podcast just recently, a couple of episodes ago. So yeah, it's so beautiful to see how they create such a beautiful space for people. But I would love, Michelle, you to tell a little bit about your story before we venture into, your story as in the police, but just a little bit about you right now.
Yes, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I love hearing other people's recollection. It's exactly what I remember, just that random guy. I actually can't remember his name. That's terrible. But he barely knew us. He met us in the line and then he's like, you need to meet someone. Like I was in a deep and meaning with some woman, some man. And he's like, no, like now. And it was just a really cool introduction. And I knew straight away when I met you, as you said, the energy, it was just the same. We were very similar. And then we found out we had similar paths. So so my name is Michelle Ann, and I'm one half of those two sisters. My sister Diane McKendrick was on the podcast recently, as you said. She's the younger sister by 3 years, and together we have a company, and it is called Those Two Sisters, and we are business coaches, but with a bit of a difference. So what we do is we support driven, ambitious business women to unlock their codes to both profit and peace, because a lot of business women out there doing one or the other. We call it money bags or love bugs. So they're either making a shit ton of money and they're so stressed, or their relationships up the poo, or they're just like a love bug, like love and hippies, and they're not making any money, even though they're doing what they love. So we love to bring the two together. Yeah. And my background is, and we'll probably go into that a bit more, I guess, in the podcast, but yeah, I was a police officer for 23 years. And I ended up getting the SAT got terminated because I didn't get the vaccine. So yeah, it's been a wild ride it's coming up 4 years, actually, in October, since all that went down, 2021, I think it was. Yeah, it was October or September 2021 was my last day in the job. And yeah, and I haven't looked back. So full-time in the business with my sister now, and yeah, really taking our message out there to the world to help and support women, particularly women in business, which is our passion. Because we were sort of supporting everybody, but then we realized, you got to niche down eventually. And we found that we just kept being attracted to business women, really, or ultimately business women or women that were entrepreneurial minded, that didn't want to work the 9 to 5, So it's been an amazing ride. And that's why we get along.
Yes, I love all of that. And it's so beautiful how you help women in the entrepreneurial space. And I love all of that. But what I really want to get into is talking about what actually made you want to join the police force. I want to go back to the very beginning and really understand the journey, because obviously lots of women listening to this are veterans or first responders.
Yes.
And so some of them may be in the journey of, starting out, or they've never joined, or they have joined, they're in the service right now, and some of them have left. So I'd love to hear your journey with that. So what actually made you want to join the police force?
It's a hilarious story, actually, because everyone meets me and goes, I can't even imagine you being a police officer. Like, you're way too nice. And back in the day, I was only like 20 and I'd done a science degree at uni. So I love science. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I did science because I just enjoyed it. I really loved the dead bodies and the forensics. So I did a special master's, not a master's, but a special class in forensics at the end of my degree. And then I really love forensics. And my dad's like, you should join the police. And I was like, Dad, are you crazy? Not a chance in hell. Like, there was no way. There's not me. And I was working in a coffee shop at the time, and my mum and dad were on my case because they paid for my private education to have me working in a coffee shop. And I was like, but I love it. So Dad apparently, He was a Telstra linesman, and he was working down the manhole near the police academy at Oxley here in Brisbane. And he said some policewoman walked past, so he'd like tapped her on the shoe pretty much and said, "Hey, my daughter wants to join the police. What does she have to do?" And so he said, "I'll ring the recruiting section and then they'll send the package out." So next minute at home and this package arrives, how to join the police. I was so furious. I rang up Dad and abused him. I was like, "Dad, like, he was on my case." And then the more I thought about it, I thought, well, sort of makes sense. They're going to teach me everything. I don't know how to shoot a gun, but they'll teach me. And I'm not stupid. I pick stuff up pretty quick and I loved them. I thought I can get into forensics in the police. So I originally joined, and also partly to prove everybody wrong. Like, stuff you. I can do what I want. You say I'm too nice, just watch me. I will prove you wrong. And 23 years later, here I am, three stripes, and I proved everyone wrong. And it was interesting. I hated my first year though. I hated it. It was not for me. Like general duties was not my personality. Out on the road with, not at all. But I fell into intelligence pretty quick, and that's where I ended up. And I didn't end up doing forensics at all.
What a wild story. Being like asking some policewoman to send you the information. That is actually epic. Like, who would have ever thought? Yeah.
I was like, no way.
I'm not surprised you were mad because I'm like, hang on, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I went to study. That's not.
But I don't regret it. Like, I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore. I may still have to go back there got a few court cases in place and to get our back pay because it's all been found to be unlawful in the courts. But to get our back pay, we have to be employed again. So that's all in the works as well. So still very may well be going back, but obviously it's going to be a short time period only just to get past. So I was only part-time when I left. So I was half in, half out.
Right.
Sort of, forced my hand, which was good in the end. But it was so stressful. Like it was crazy. Single mum, at home, 2 little kids, a car that was salary sacrificed. And it was really stressful. Like I lost a lot of sleep. And it was really horrible times that first year, probably the first 2 years. Because my last pay was Christmas 2024. Christmas Eve, not 24. Christmas Eve must have been 2021. 24th of December was my last pay. It must have been a Friday. That's happened when how the pay dates work. And that I was like, oh, Merry Christmas. And I've got a self-development business and most people shut down over Christmas. November, that winds down. December, nothing. January, usually everyone's still on holidays and it's not till February, March that it kicks back in. So, and we were, doing okay, but very feast or famine. So the business couldn't support my wage at first. So, yeah. Lucky I had some money put aside to live off for a little bit. So that was really lucky.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why I joined anyway, to prove everybody wrong.
I love that you did. You proved everybody wrong. Everyone thought you were too nice, and then you became a police officer.
Yeah.
You proved where you're wrong. It's so good. And then from obviously saying that you hated your first year, was it just literally the job of general duties?
Yeah.
And then when you went into intelligence, you were like, oh, this is where I was meant to be.
Yeah. It just wasn't me. Like, I thought I was terrible. My first year trainer, I used to stay with someone for 6 months. Oh, no, I think it's a whole year. For your first year, you have like a mentor. And I was thrown into Logan Station, which is like the roughest, busiest probably station in Queensland. And that was my first day on the job. I think we had a stabbing on my first day. Massive drug raid. I hadn't even started. It was the orientation day. We're all doing, training and all that. And then at lunch, it was only a half day. And they said, oh, like, do you want to come out? We're doing a raid. I was like, yeah, sure. And I remember sitting in the back of the police car, like in amongst 2 burly big fellas, and I'm in the middle seat in the back and another guy in the 2 in the front. And I'm like, and they're handing me, now I know to be intel profiles, but they're like, he's got AIDS, he's got Hep C, like massive heroin addicts. And we're going to do this raid. And I'm like, what is happening here? Like, this is crazy. So yeah, Logan just was not a place, you didn't get trained. You literally got thrown in at sink or swim.
Wow.
I thought I was really shit. And my trainer's like, no, you were amazing. Everyone said, no, you were an amazing police officer. Because I could talk to people. I just felt internally not okay.
Yeah.
You know, when you're like, uh, like a fraud, like I was presenting as one thing, but inside I hated it. I was not in alignment at all. And I'd just spend the whole shift, just can't wait till my shift ends. And everything I did was wrong because I'm a first year. And
Yeah.
they couldn't train you. There was no time. You'd walk in, start your shift, and there was 10 jobs lined up. There was no time for me to sit down with the first year and explain how to investigate this break and enter or this traffic accident. Your work list just got out of control. You never had time to do paperwork, and nothing was ever done properly, always cutting corners. And I'm a bit of a do-gooder, doing things properly.
Yeah.
So that did my
Yeah.
head in a bit. Like we had to, but there was no training. You didn't get trained. You just got chucked in. And that, I think for me, was the hardest thing. So I remember just dreading checking my pigeonhole because there was always some paperwork there that I'd done wrong. And when you're new and everything's wrong, it's not because you're a bad person. It's just because you're learning. But, this is wrong. You submitted this the wrong place and this went here and your KP9's wrong. And I got reefed into the big boss's office on that training day, actually. One of the training days we had in our first year. We're all sitting there, all of our first years, and they're like over the louds, a big station over the loudspeaker was, Michelle Saunderson, can you come to the officer in charge's office, which is big, especially as a recruit. Well, you're a first year. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I went in, he said, shut the door, please. I was like, shit, shuts the door. And he starts just going to town on me about the state of my coronial files, like the dead body investigations, and not like how they were terrible. And I'm just like, this thing, like shrinking, thinking, I've only done one. And he was carrying on and I was like, I've only done one coronial file. I don't know what he's going on about. Anyway,
Yeah.
kicked me back out. And apparently it was I was just used as an experiment to show body language and stuff. Like he wanted to show how, when he said the way he talked to me, shut the door, instantly made me think I'm in trouble. And then the reactions between us, and it was, so just as and how even just calling my name on the loudspeaker, I can't remember what they were trying to prove. They just used me as a guinea pig. So yeah, always in trouble. Or I felt like I was always in trouble and I never did anything right. So it was a bit stressful. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so much, right? Like, one, using you as a guinea pig. Wow.
I know. I saw him the other day. I was like, you bastard.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, whenever you're learning something new, like everyone's crap. Like we can't be good, right? Like we all have to be shit before we can get good at something. So, but it's a lot, right? Especially when you're someone who wants to do things really well and you're sort of like a person that, is a perfectionist or, wants to make it all look good and you're, really passionate about doing things well because that's who you are in nature. To then be in trouble all the time, you're like, fuck, this is so hard. Like, what do I do? How do I get this right? But really, it's just the start, the learning and the, growing in all those lessons. But it is a lot. So, I mean, kudos to you for even like, you know what I mean, getting through that and doing that because it's a massive deal. And then continuing with your career and moving on to how did you get into intelligence?
Intel. Yeah. So I just didn't give up again to prove people wrong because I was like, well, if I've just got to make it through my first year, after then, if I need to quit, I'll quit. I used to come home and cry every shift. I was all at 21 years old too, single, living, I don't know where I was living, but not with mum and dad. Like, you're just so young. And so I thought I'll make it through my first year. And then my second year was at Ipswich, which is where my family lived and where I grew up. So one, I knew the area a lot better and it was a lot more, it was still busy, but it was a lot more laid back. And I wasn't treated like a first year anymore. I was one of them. And all of a sudden, because otherwise you're a first year, you get treated like a pleb because you're a first year. You even had a little stupid book you had to fill out every day. This mentor had to sign it. It was just nightmare that first year, which is understandable because you're training. But then all of a sudden it goes from that to you're accepted. You're part of the gang. And I think, my boyfriend at the time, who was a police officer, said, oh, you'd be good at intel. And I didn't even know what it was. I said, go and see so-and-so and tell him the station intel officer. Go and speak to him and say you just want to learn a bit about intel. And I said, oh, okay. And I went in and I instantly knew this was my thing. So then I asked the boss if I could do some shifts with the station intel officer. And then a job came up at Acacia Ridge and it was an acting senior constable job. And I'd only been in the job not even probably 2 years. So the first year in Logan and maybe a year and a half in Ipswich. And I thought, I'll just apply for it. And no one wanted to get into Intel back then. So I got this job. So I was acting senior constable after one, yeah, 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I was perfect in the office, in my jam, like I love typing and organizing and putting all the pieces together. And I'd solve murders and armed robberies, and don't have to speak to the public. I didn't have to go to court. I didn't have to deal with criminals. And I just get to work with the CIB, and they go, "Who did it, Saunder?" And I say, "Oh, this is your guy." And they go, "Yeah, that is." I said, "I know, because I'm good at my job." Yeah. And I knew everything more than most of the detectives. So if there was a murder, the officer in charge of CIB would call me and the lead detective. I'd be in there before anybody, and I knew the whole job, whereas they just had their pieces. Like, you go do your statement, you go and speak to this person, you go get this piece of paper, you go deliver the exhibits. But the lead detective was the one that coordinated, and me, because I knew all of the whole story and did all the background intel. So I knew everything about the job, and I could work very, very, very fast and doing 50 things at once, which I thought was normal, but I now know is not. Oh God, I was so quick. They were like, "How are you just," and it was under a lot of pressure. Like, when you have a murder, like, there's like 20 detectives and one of you, and they all want something from you. And you just like got really good at just like and being really organized, so you could find all the shit that you'd sent off, because you'd send off phone checks and interjects and RTAs, and they'd all be flying back at you, and you had to like organize it. But because I'm very process driven, I had it all, my team, and yeah, I really loved it. It was my jam. And then I just worked my way up through Intel and end up being a sergeant in charge of an Intel office, eh, of about 11, 9, 10 staff. Really busy office. So that was before I had kids. Yeah. So it just, again, universe, whatever, I just fell into it. And I didn't ever do general duty policing again. So, which was great.
That is amazing. How wild, though, that you fell into it and then all of a sudden that was all of your skills and it was like you're amazing at.
Yeah.
You got to channel into being able to solve murders. Like, who can say that? You know what I mean? That's wild. That is so incredible. And you didn't even have to go out and deal with the public or any of those things. What background is that?
Stuff. So I got to work with the CIB. They would ask me, "Sondo, do you want to come out on the raid?" "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll come on the raid." And I'd just toddle in. They'd kick the door in and do all the stuff, and I'd toddle in with my little notebook and collect all the intel. So I didn't have to deal with any of the stuff. If ever
Wow.
I really wasn't there, and I'd get to sometimes go on drive arounds with them when they'd take like a break and enter offender out that had done, like, they'd call it a drive around. So they'd take them out because they'd committed, they're on a drug bender and committed 40 break and enters, and said they'd say, I'll come clean and you just drive me around and I'll point the houses out that I've broken into. But I did the intel, so I had done all the linking. So I'd linked this massive big puzzle up of, I know this because of this, and this linked to this, and that car was cited there, and that was a partial rego. It was red. He's associated with him. That phone was called that phone, and I just pieced this whole puzzle, put it in this massive spreadsheet, and I knew it by the back of my hand. And so I'd get to sit in the back with the criminal, and I knew all the jobs because I'd be looking at them all day, every day. I'd go, he goes, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "Yeah, you broke your Jimmy in through the front door, and then you stole the mic, camera." And he's like, "Yeah, I did." And then you took that stolen car and you did a petrol drive off and broke into the bottle shop around up at Forest Lake. "Oh, yeah, I did." But they were off their face. I don't remember. So,
Yeah.
and then that was on recording. So then that was an admission. So I'd put it to them. He'd say yes or no. And then I'd say the MO and they go yes or no. And then we move on to the next house. But yeah, I didn't have to do anything with them, just sit there. So it was really good. Seriously, the best of both worlds. I really enjoyed it.
That's epic. And you're literally the person putting it all together. Like, because you've got all the pieces, you are the one that brings it all together to,
Yeah.
really tell the story, which is so amazing of like actually what happened and then be able to allow them to get who did it. Like, that's
Yes.
huge.
And it took a while, but the detectives eventually started to trust me over time when they work with me a lot. And then eventually they would call me into the big meetings with the big decisions, and they would actually say, like, they were making big investigative decisions as to where to take this murder case or whatever. And they would say, "What do you think, Saundo? Do you think we should do this or do you think we should do that?" And then because I knew all the pieces, I'd go, "I think this," or, "We're waiting on this check to come back. So I think that might link that person to this." So I remember an armed robbery that I directly solved where I went back and said, "This is your person." And they went, "What?" I said, "This." And I said the reasons because
Yep.
it was And they looked and then they went, I think you're right. I said, I know I'm right. And he'd done so many armed robberies, like I think 15 or 20. And I know I'm right. And he's like, comes back 5 minutes later, he goes, it's him. And then I got to see them arrest him and he admitted to it and it all got through court. And I didn't have to go to court or do anything because I'm not the one that charged them. I just said, that's your man. Because I got, jail check. Because we had access to everything, to all their custody records, to their phones, to their Energex bills, to all the stuff. And so eventually, if you put enough pieces together, there's enough evidence to go, this is your person. And then when you do it in a timeline, it's even more interesting because you tack on like CCTV footage sightings, you tack on public phone box records, you do cell tower checks, you tap that on, witness statements, you put that in, the criminal statement that goes in, and then you can see this clear picture. And you're like, oh, I can see what's happened. He's gone here, he's done this, he's been here. And there you go, that's what happened. So very, very good. Fun.
Wow. And
Yeah.
how incredible, though, like you putting even that together to show them what happened and then to know who's done it and for them to be like, oh my God, we need her. We need you in the room because you know all the things. You actually connect all the dots and you show the timeline from everything that they don't get to see, right? Because all they don't see. And so you are literally the missing piece of the puzzle. So, like, how incredible that then you were in those big meetings because you literally knew everything and you were the one who knew who did it. And they trusted you so much because of your incredible ability to do what you do. That's amazing.
It took a little while to build that trust because Intel had a pretty bad name because there was a lot of geeks. Like to most Intel officers, you had to be pretty good on the computer. And most of them, a lot of them, not all of them, obviously because of me, no, a lot of Intel officers were quite geeky and had absolutely no communication skills. They could do a phone check, but they couldn't then talk to a detective. Whereas I sort of had both. I could have the tech skills. Well, I taught myself. I didn't actually have them. I taught myself everything. And then, but I also had the ability to be able to communicate and be able to build a relationship and, go out for after work drinks and become part of a team. Whereas it got to a point where we were next door in the house next door and I ended up speaking to them and asking if I could come and sit in their office and work from there. And they said that's the best idea because otherwise you miss a lot of stuff by just listening. So when they had a murder or whatever, I would sit in the middle of the room instead of being next door waiting for them to check. And sometimes they would be like, I could hear what's going on. I wouldn't say anything. I could hear all the conversations and I could hear what they're going to need. So I would just start sending the check that I could hear they were going to need. And they would come up and go, oh, Sauna, have you got? And I go, here. And they go, what? I said, I could hear you talking. I knew that you were going to need the rental check. Here it is. So that was really good because then you didn't have to wait. Because when you were next door, you're always, an hour or so behind the job. So because sitting in there getting all the real-time information and getting a radio also in the office was really helpful because we could hear what was going on the street. And then we'd hear, oh, there's been a blue car sighted at this armed robbery as it was happening. And so then we're already on the case, like checking all the regos and, putting all the bits together before they even told us there was a robbery because we heard it live on the radio. So that was really handy too. Just keeping your finger on the pulse, Katie.
Keeping your finger on the pulse. I love that. But how incredible, though. Like, I mean, that is a testament to your ability to not only learn the technical side, but your incredible ability with people, which is amazing. And then to know that if you get in there, like we know when you're a part of it, you're obviously way more on top of things when you hear them straight out and you can know what to get people instead of being like removed from that situation. Because, if you're removed, you're never going to get it straight away. You're not going to be, like you say, you won't have your finger on the pulse. So how are you meant to know what they need, like right in that moment?
Yeah. So how I wouldn't tell Intel either. Like it was a bit of us and them. So when you were in there and you got their respect, they would tell you stuff that they probably wouldn't tell another Intel officer. So again, earned. And some of it was socially, after work drinks and becoming part of sort of the gang. That all helps, So
Like that's like, connection and allowing yourself to get to know people on a more personal level, right? Instead of it just being about business and closing the gap, which I think is really important when it comes to working with people, especially in, different sectors. And if it's not, that's not normally a thing that's done, you get to do that in other ways, like by going out and having drinks and, being personable and understanding and getting to know them on a personal level. So I think that's all beautiful.
Yeah.
How did that then lead into, you were then a leader of 10, 9, 10 people? Like, how did that then lead into your leadership of those people?
Yeah, so because I'm a bit of a control freak, I used to love
Oh,
knowing
that's fair.
everything about everything, not much passed over that I didn't know about. And I was very organized. So I'd have bosses come in and I'd just be like, bloody hopeless. And people would just come and ask me. They never went to the boss. They come and ask me. And I thought, well, man, they're not doing a very good job, clearly. And why don't I do the job, get paid for it?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I applied for a sergeant's job exactly 5 years after I graduated, which was the day that my last assignment was due, because you had these yearly assignments. If you kept up to date with your pay point, then
Mhm.
you had all your assignments. And then as soon as your assignment's due in, then you could start applying for sergeant jobs because you're technically qualified. So the day that my assignment came back, I think this job came up in Cairns and it was a sergeant's job and it was in charge of an intel office in Cairns. And I lived in Brisbane. And everyone's like, just apply for it. And I was like, I can't move to Cairns. They're like, well, you're not going to get the job. So just get the experience. Not like, because I'm so junior and it was a big job.
Yeah.
Just get the experience, get your resume, get some feedback, do an interview if you get an interview. I said, oh, okay. So I put it all in and I bloody well got the job. I came second. I cried after the interview. I thought I completely stuffed it. I came out of the office, cried. I said I absolutely screwed it up. And then the guy that got the job didn't take it. And so they rang me and said, oh, well, you came second. I was like, what? So congratulations, you're a sergeant. Right? And again, I was all about 25 years, 26 years by that stage. But
Wow.
yeah, so I moved my whole life up to Cairns and absolutely I was so out of my element. So they didn't want me up there because another guy was meant to get the job and he didn't. And I don't know, it was an absolute mess up there. And they'd obviously employed me to come and fix the mess. And I was not,
Yeah.
I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the experience. I didn't feel, literally had a nervous breakdown up there. And I was up there for a week and I realized, oh my God, what have I done? I had no support. No, I didn't know anyone up there. I ended up going to the superintendent and said, look, I don't want to string this out any longer. I'm not your person. I said,
Yeah.
I don't want to leave you in the lurch. I'm telling you now so you can replace me and get someone that is meant to be here. It's not me. And I don't know how, but I said, I'll go back to senior constable. I don't actually care. So they ended up, because they wanted me back in Oxley, they said, we'll find it. Because my position was filled, my senior constable. So my position was filled there. So I couldn't go back. They managed to somehow find me a position number to come back into Oxley Intel as a senior constable. And I had to pay like $2,500 to get all my stuff moved back.
Oh my
I don't
God.
care. Yeah, so I moved back and went back to senior constable. But I ended up getting that job in Oxley, the Ocus. So a year or so later, I applied and knew what I was doing and then got that actual job that I wanted. Yeah, so that was really good. Yeah, so.
How incredible though that you knew that wasn't for you. Like that's a big move to make at 25
It
to be
was
like, this is not
horrific.
for me.
It was really bad, like really bad time. I just knew I was having literal panic attacks. Like I'd go off and vomit in the toilet and then I'd have to get my shit because I was in charge. It's not like I could say I don't know what I'm doing. And to be looking back, they gave me no support. They said, there's your desk. And they were in the middle of a massive they call it the OPR, which is a big thing that would take months of swear. It was all stats and I hated stats. And it was just horrible. OPR was horrible. And they threw me in like OPR was due in a couple of weeks. And I'd say to the people, how do they normally run this? And they were just like, we don't know. We don't know. He just sit there and swear at his desk for months on end. We don't know what he did. So I'm trying to learn a new office. Didn't even know how the phones worked. And I'm thinking, if there's a murder or if there's a big job,
Yeah.
I'm stuffed. Absolutely stuffed. So I was just in this panic. So I ended up calling the council and they called the assistant commissioner on his day off and said, this girl needs to go back to Brisbane.
Yeah.
So it was pretty bad.
Gosh, that's terrible. I'm sorry you had to experience.
Oh, learning, all learning. Learning. Still get queasy when I go up to Cairns. I get like a bit of flashbacks. I was like,
Oh no.
I don't remember this fondly. I felt like a failure because, the people that had vouched for me and said I was good, then I got out there and felt like made a dick of myself. And yeah, I just said to the superintendent, I said, I'm just telling you because it's not that I'm not competent, I am, but I'm not ready for this. It was a mess. Absolute shit show. And they were obviously wanting someone to come in and just change and fix everything. Like, their work list was just out of control. Like,
Wow.
I'd freak out in hours if there was more than a page of tasks. There was like 40 pages or something. No, I didn't know the suburb names. You meant to answer questions on crime trends. I'm like, Maraboo? What the hell? Where is that? And they were like, why is there breaking enters in Maraboo? I freaking don't even know where Maraboo is. Whereas Oxley, I knew it by the back of my hand. I knew everything about everything. So it was full on. But we survived. And I eventually got my job. So
Oh, that's amazing that when you came back and not only a year later, but you got your job. And then from there, what did it look like? You've already kind of touched on how you left, but when did you go from full-time to part-time and then that transition out?
yeah, so I was full-time as the officer in charge for many years, 8 years, I think. And then I fell pregnant and went off and had my first child for 2 years. I took on my long service leave and I went to come back and I said, I want to come back part-time because I want to be a mum. And they said, well, you can't be in charge of an office part-time. So I lost my role. And looking back, I probably should have fought it. I didn't lose my rank,
Absolutely.
but I lost that position, that role in Oxley Intel, which I understand their point of view. There's not many sergeants that are part-time to job share. I couldn't barely run it full-time. Like, it was full on. So there's no way I could come in and run it part-time, but there was no other sergeant to do half with me. So I get it. So they said, no, but you can go into town. So then they moved me into headquarters and part-time, and they found one other female sergeant who was part-time, and they ended up tacking our positions together and sharing it. And then I went from I was in charge of everything to like sitting there like charge of nothing, and I was like a nobody, which I sort of really loved at first. I was like, oh my God, thank God. I can just sit here and do. If they threw me in the phone check section, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It was boring. I didn't give a shit. Do my little taps and go home. And then it lasted about a month and a half, and then the inspector called me and he's like, you've been sitting here, you're a sergeant, you need to be in charge of something. And my dad jokingly said, oh, you're going to be in charge of the waste paper bins. And no joke, the week later, someone said, oh, someone needs to do a audit on the bin situation. And I was literally doing an audit on the bins. I rang my dad and said, Dad, guess what? I'm in charge of the waste paper baskets.
Your dad, oh my gosh, isn't he psychic? He didn't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's crazy. So then I was part-time, and then I just kept dropping hours.
Yeah, okay.
And then I went back full-time for a bit, and then I had another child, went back part-time, and then as the business grew, I just dropped another hour, a couple of hours here, then a day, and I was back down to 0.4 when I left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was only working Mondays every second Tuesdays and one weekend a month. So that was good. Yeah.
That's good.
And I thought about leaving. What'd you say?
Sorry, go.
I thought about leaving, and I was going to go off on, you can have a year with no pay, like career break. But being a single mom, it just was too risky for me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I never did, but then I had to.
Yeah. So you obviously was great to choose to have time with your beautiful children, though. Like, you're grateful that you got to do that.
Yeah.
And then, then you had to leave because of the COVID jab.
Yeah. It was crazy times. I had a medical certificate. Because I'm not anti-vaxxer. I had all my vaccines up to that point. I had a rash, a really bad rash. Like, people, the doctor even told me the other day it's the worst they'd ever seen, from head to toe pretty much. Not on my face, but it was it was horrible. And there's no way I'm putting vaccine in here knowing I don't even know what's going on with me. Secondly, I had my suspicions that I didn't think everything was as they were saying. My little flighty senses were like, this does not seem right. And then I got a medical certificate saying that I shouldn't have it for at least 3 or 4 months. And they just went, no, we don't care. You're put down on no pay. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So they stood me down and then they gave me a month with pay on leave with pay, stood down, but being paid. And then after a month, it was like a straight away leave with no pay. And then, and that was it. And then I was on leave with no pay for a year and a half while they investigated me and got pulled into ethical standards and interviewed like a criminal. It was terrible.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Yes, literally treated me like a criminal. Like I wasn't allowed to go into the police stations. I wasn't allowed to contact anybody at work. So all my support systems were sort of cut from me. The only person you're allowed to contact is the inspector in charge of your case. You're not to enter a police establishment. You can't call anybody. It was crazy. And there is a report. It's basically terrible. And then interviewed by ethical standards. And I thought it was going to be like a tick and flick. Did you get the vaccine? No. But it wasn't. They were like trying to, I don't know what they were trying to check me up. Like,
wow.
It was weird. Yeah. And then eventually they terminated me, even with like lawyers' letters and unions. And I had a clean record, 25 years pretty much it was.
Yeah.
Clean record. Yeah.
And they still terminated you. That is wild.
Yeah. Just wild. I still to this day, like, did that actually happen? Like,
yeah.
I had
It's surreal.
references from my old, because I was the staff sergeant at this stage. So I was still in Intel, but I wasn't doing Intel. I was basically, it suited me to a T again, the PA for the superintendent of state Intel. So I was his sort of right-hand woman. And like, again, I knew everything about everything. And he'd give me his HR, he'd give me all the finance, he'd give me the budgets, he'd give me all the big problems. And then the boss above that was the one that actually sacked me and said, I can't be trusted. I'm like, well, you trusted me with all your money. You trusted me with all your people problems. You trust me to employ people and tell me when I need to not employ people, but you don't. Yeah, it was weird. So weird. Yeah. So anyway, I'm here.
Yeah, it's just wild to hear. Like, I just can't even imagine, especially in the military, because I know people that didn't get vax and they still have a job. So I'm like, that doesn't even fathom in my brain. It just says it blows my mind.
And I had a permission to work from home. Like, I didn't even work with the public. I sat in this office that was huge, and sometimes it was me, and it was the size of a football. It was the major incident room, so it was massive. And I'd sit there by myself in this massive room, not even see a soul for 8 hours. And they said I was a risk to the public. And then I'm like, well, can I work from home? Because I had approval. Because during COVID, I'm like a good work ethic. So they were so strict. You had a runny nose, you can't come in. So I said, well, can I get approval to work from home? My whole job is on the computer. And then if I have a runny nose, I can still work. It's not that I can't work. I can work from home and still do my shifts. Don't know why, like everyone else, I should have just gone sick, but I just had good work ethic. So I had approval and I did all the paperwork. I said, I've got approval to work from home. Can I not work from home for this, at least the 3 months until my medical certificate runs out and then reassess? No.
Yes.
No.
Wow.
Out. So, yeah.
Wow. And so lucky that you had a business at this time with you saying, like, you were actually doing on the outside. Like, that, I mean, some people, like, that's wild.
Thank God. And my dad and mum came through as well because my car was salary sacrificed. And I'd only just got it because I'd split with my ex not long before. And so I had this car that was like a $35,000 car that couldn't be salary sacrificed anymore because technically I was unemployed. So they're like, you either pay it out or you get some really expensive interest thing, I don't even know, that I couldn't even afford. And I couldn't even apply for a car loan or a home loan because they wouldn't look at me because I had no income and I was a single mom.
Of course.
So I was trying to like get a different home loan to to get the better interest rates. And they said, we've tried everything. There's no one that will look at you because you don't have an income. Basically, they don't take business as an income unless you prove 5 years of wages and stuff. So I was like, Dad just came in and I was crying like uncontrollably through the night. And he said, please let me help you just pay the car out. There's one less thing you need to worry about. If I pay the car out, that's one less thing. And then you can do all your other bills and all that stuff. I was using my budget at the time. I don't know if you heard the name of the company. And thank God, because I'd had enough, about 3 months of wages put away because of them. And
Wow.
they said, I rang them and said what happened. You've got till April next year and then your bills will stop getting paid. So you need to do something. So it gave me 3 months, 4 months to like build the business and get some leeway to pay for my life and my children. And yes. So crazy, hey?
What a crazy time, like for you as well, but so beautiful that you had your family support and your dad come in and support you and do all of that.
Yeah.
And with, the business and everything, because I absolutely love what you ladies do and everything that you provide for so many incredible women. How did you know that that was like what you wanted to do? Did Diane start it first or did you both come together? How did
So I started at first. I just kept following. Our joke is that she went through with the big, through the jungle with the big slashes, did all the hard work. And then I'd toddle in behind and I'd get it really easy. And she said, you always did it better than me. So she'd create a podcast and then she knew, did all the shows, showed me and I went, got this really cool podcast. Or she started personal training and I was like, I want to do that too. Come in and did this. And then she did NLP. I did NLP. Then not purposely, just
No.
it was always about. I'm 3 years older than her, but I was always about 2 years behind her with all the decisions. Yeah. So we got into essential oils. We're very intuitive and spiritual.
Yeah.
And then I had a bit of an awakening. It's on my podcast actually, and ended up doing energy healing. So yeah, I feel like our stories are very similar. I watch your social media. I was like, that's like me. That's exactly my path. Now I'm into doing the feminine work like you. Yeah.
I love that.
I was doing women's circles and then we run retreats and then I was doing feminine. I'm like, this Katie is just me a couple of years ago. I'm a lot prettier, mind you.
Behind. Oh, you're beautiful.
Yeah. So
Wow. It's such a cool thing though. Like, I mean, to go through a service and then to obviously some, crazy times, but to even build a business off the back of it. And it's so nice that, like you have your sister to be able to do all of this with, and you both have incredible skills and abilities that I'm sure complement each other.
yeah.
Well. And you're both so, amazing at what you do. So it's so beautiful to see that and see what you guys provide. And I would love for you to, is there like, as you came into the space, what was the thing that really drew you to, I mean, you talk about energy healings and now you're going into feminine awakening. What really brings you into those spaces and a little bit about that journey?
I think it's for me the people, and that's what the police taught me. I've always been able to talk to people and negotiate, communicate, and I just had this sixth sense with people what they needed. And I always thought it was normal. I'm like, can't everyone just read body language? Like it's pretty obvious. When someone's lying, it's very obvious. If someone not even lying, but just not, they'll sit down here in my healing space and I don't know them from a bar of soap. And I say, how are you? How are you going? And they go, good. And I look dead in their eyes and say, how are you really going? And then, woo! Like just, and just body language. When you coach, you don't need training. You just got to read, you let them speak and then you listen and you watch their body and they'll tell you. It's really simple stuff. But I was just always drawn to the people and community and holding space and allowing women to just be vulnerable and share their deepest, darkest secrets in a safe space. So I think my passion is to be able to hold space for women to go through whatever it is they need to go through, and then they pop out the other side. Yeah. And Diane's the big visionary. And I'm the doer. So I've got two sides. I'm the implementer. So she's the CEO. She does all the big decisions and the big visions. She has these ideas and I just cringe. I'm like, oh my God, she's got no idea how much work is involved. Oh my God. I'm like twitching. She's like, I've got an idea. I'm like, no, not another idea. She started calling me, I started feeling bad because I felt like I was the negative Nancy. Every time she'd come up with an amazing idea, I would just be the realist and say, do you have any idea how much effort it takes to get that? And then, so we decided to call me the neutralizer bullet. So just neutralizing any sort of, and fantasy or infatuation with the idea, and I'd give the realist view and say, that's great, I will support you, but do you understand that this goes on in the back end?
Yes.
And you're about to give our VAs a heart attack because it's given me a heart attack and I'm only flicking it to them. So, so she's visionary. I'm the implementer. I'm the doer. And at the moment, we're building our business out. We're getting salespeople, but at the moment, it's really clear cut that she does like the customer front facing. So she does a lot of the presenting. She does like the sales side, and then I do all the doing. So I organize the VAs and I coordinate and do all the logistics because she's hopeless at the detail. Like she throws the spaghetti at the wall and I clean it up, basically.
We talked about that in the podcast.
Yeah. She's like making millions and spending it all.
Like, she called it spaghetti, I called it shit. So I mean, whatever, throw it at the wall. You're the one that's like, oh gosh, okay, what's
I'll be watching her. I was like, then putting tax aside. Oh, well, shit. And like big visionary. Oh, it's always right. I said, seriously, Miss Diane, you need to be putting how much tax? And she got this tax bill that floored her. Like it was freaking $100,000 or some ridiculous thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So she was like, shit. So she's went from $1 million to like, yeah. And then she said, when I came on board and just, it's a lot more stable now. It's a lot more, it's reliable income, residual income. It's organized, it's structured. I've got forecasting income tables and I know bill and budget. I do all the money side. She doesn't touch that. She doesn't even access the bank account. She asked me, I was like, oh, I want to do that. I said, Diane, no money in the bank account. Is money coming? Is not the cash flow? I say, the cash flow's a little tight right now. She's like, figure now. I said, oh, you can't even see the bank account, so you just have to trust me. And I go, let her touch zero, God forbid, nothing that is equity detail she's not allowed to touch. So I do all the detail stuff. Yeah. I finally got a lady to take over my finance because it was taking me so long, and I handed it over to a VA and I said, I probably need you for a couple of hours a week. I'll just sit down on a Wednesday for 3 or 4 hours. She now does 22 hours.
Wow.
And that's what I was doing back and still doing all my other stuff. I don't even know how I did it. It's a lot of work with the finance of a business, like chasing up arrears, setting up payment plans, all the complications with people having not standard sales. Di's are good for that too. When she does the sales, she never keeps it standardized. I can see, but she's like, oh, this one, she's going to tweak and she's going to do this. And she's like, just stick with the freaking sales link, woman. Stick with the sales link. It's automated. It's easy. Instead, she'll add something in and she'll friggin' discount it by this much, but she'll add an extra thing. I'm like, you're driving me nuts. So there's like 50 different variations. I cleaned it all up and she's still doing it. I get it. I get why she does it because everyone needs certain different things. So every time she comes to me with something now, I work out a way to get it still through the sales page. I'm like, tell her to use this code. It will drop it to this amount and put the notes here, and then it can just go off and do its thing.
Wow.
Because I set all the automations up and then she does it manually. I'm like, no more manual sales, please. But she's the big vision. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have a business that we've got, So I do joke, but.
And it's so beautiful though, like how you compliment her. I love even watching your stories and how you're the one getting you there, and she's just like in the car, like, like Michelle will get us there. Like, and it doesn't surprise me that obviously you do all those intricate back end things as well. And how beautiful that you both get to support women in business and entrepreneurs in both of those aspects. Because that's a whole business, right? Like the two of you, the gifts so that you both possess and your ability, like you said, to bring everything from the police of how good you are with people, and not many people are good at that, to be able to like see people and really know what they need and hold them in that beautiful space, right? And so especially women. And so it's so beautiful how you've used all those skills and realize how incredible you are. And then also the gifts that you and your sister have that bring this beautiful vision to life, right? Yeah. We didn't have it without either.
No. We did a really funny reel of us at the airport. And I'm lugging all the bags, flipping over, stuff going everywhere, trying to get the tickets out. Well, I've got everything. And she's like, and it's literally so spot on. She's staring at the wall. Organized. And like when we drive to the airport, because we travel a lot for business, when we're driving, I'm always really stressed. She goes, why are you so stressed? Like, you freaking got no idea. One time she got there and he said, "Where are we going?" Well, oh, that's right. She said another time she was like, Dad was driving us because I think it was an international thing. And she was taking him to the domestic airport. I said, Diane, you got no idea. We're going overseas. Oh, I said, "Oh, no." Yeah. She can get her, I do, I'm sort of exaggerating, but I'm not really. She can get herself around, definitely. But
Cool.
she didn't even have Uber on her phone, and some woman had to call her an Uber the other day. She goes, "Oh, my sister does all this. I don't even know how to use the Uber app."
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. No, I love it. You two are so beautiful together. I mean, she says that as well, doesn't she? That she's like, yeah, you do it all. And she's like, I'm just, chilling out. So it's so beautiful that you complement each other in that way.
Well, she needs to be like that to do the visionary stuff. She can't have cluttered brain, whereas that's my job to be the cluttered. Like the retreat's a good example. So we run retreats. I'm so stressed running up to retreat, like all the logistics and coordinating all the stuff. But when we get to retreat, I just, oof, I went and had to sleep the other retreat for 2 hours because I was exhausted. Because then retreat comes and she takes over. So she's the presenter. I stand there and help, but generally it's her gig. And then I do all the behind the scenes so I can take my foot off the pedal when we get to the retreat. So, yeah.
And that's beautiful, right? Because then you both have the times when you're on and then the other person gets to have a bit of a break and then, like you get to share the load, which is really lovely.
Yeah, it works well.
And yeah, and honor what you guys are great at. I love all of this. So what is, apart from the book launch, which is very exciting, what else is next for you?
Oh, we got so much going on. We're about to have our biggest month in business. I just know. I'm having a meeting here at 2:15, actually. It's the $1 million a month business planning meeting.
Beautiful.
Because we've flipped our business model on its head and we've changed it all up. And it's finally all set up and running, I think, smoothly. So now we're doing like a big promo up to end of financial year for our Queen's Club, which is our beautiful group container to get in. And then we're putting the price like doubled basically from the 1st of July. So that's what we're going towards now. And then coordinating all the retreats around that as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm excited for the future because it's all becoming more and more residual income. Easy. It's just becoming easier. Like subscription models, residual. I can see like next month there's this much coming in and where we're going. And then like now it's all changed that before we didn't have the capacity to build to that level, but now I can see how we can do that. So yeah, $1 million business, baby. Watch out.
Yes, I'm so excited. This is amazing. Yeah, can't wait. Love watching.
I'm home with the kids and the dog.
Oh, what a dream. Gosh, entrepreneurs out there.
Starting at 10 in the morning, 11, I think I started this morning. I was still in my pajamas this morning when the painter came. I was like, oh shit, I'm in my pajamas. And look, work when I want. Some days are full on, other days not so much, which I love.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But you set your own time and freedom, right? Like you get to do what works for you. Like some days, like you said, are crazy and busy, and some days are beautiful and free, and some days you're in your pajamas still whenever you want, really.
Yeah. Generally, I work from 10 till 4.
Yeah.
And then I work Wednesdays in my support worker shift. Have my weekends completely off. And then some days, like I'm at the kids' sports day. I just got my hair done the other day. That was a whole shift gone, which is fine. Did a bit on my phone.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's good.
Beautiful. I love that. It's so beautiful how you've set your life up for exactly what you need. And like you said, the beautiful residual income and allowing subscriptions and different ways of doing business, which is so beautiful. And I have one last question before you go and do your beautiful meeting. What makes you an unapologetically wild woman?
Oh, I love that question. I feel that when you are in your absolute unapologetic, authentic you and being completely yourself, that's when you're in the most alignment, which means that's when your frequency is the highest. So I'm always just like, show up however you're meant to show up. Like sometimes I think, oh, I don't sound professional enough or, all the stuff. And then I'm like, screw that. Like people can smell it a mile away. Just be you and do you. And I'm not going to try to be Katie, and I'm not going to try to be Diane. I'm just going to be Michelle. And when I'm Michelle and fully just in my genius, then the rest follows. So that's what I feel. If you turn up unapologetic and just be yourself, only good things can come. It's when you're trying to pretend to be someone else, that's when it goes to shit, which is what Diane and I were doing for a while, like comparing ourselves. Like I was like, well, I'm no good at this. And she's like, well, I'm shit at the computer. So we ended up having a coach who said, what are you doing? That's your role. You're CEO. She's COO and CFO. Neither of the two shall cross, you know? Even if someone comes to me wanting to buy something, I usually have to send them across to Diane because that's your role. Stick in your own lane. That's the words. Stick in your own lane.
Oh, I love that. That is so true, right? Stick in your own lane, be yourself, do what's right for you. Like, no need to worry about other people. They're doing them, you do you. Perfect. Oh, yes. So juicy. So beautiful. I hope everyone got something really big from that and goes off and just bees exactly who they are, nobody else. Because you can't be anyone else because you just can't.
That's true.
Yeah, I love that so much. I want to thank you so much for coming on my podcast today. It was an absolute pleasure and honor to learn about your story and see what you've created and how you're helping other beautiful entrepreneurs and women around. I would love if you could tell us how we could, people can find you so that they can follow along and be with your journey.
So we're obviously all over socials, but the best way is just to go to our website because that'll take you everywhere else. So www.thosetwosisters.com. If you want to see what we have to offer, there's a tab called offerings, and you can just go in there and see all the things we have to offer. There's a free section where you can put your email in and get our free hypnosis and free audiobooks. So that's always a good place. And our events are on there. Come to our book launch too. 14th of June in Brisbane. Come and see me and Katie in person. Give us the big hug. So Katie's a co-author in our book. So yeah, we'll see you. That's a big party. I'm excited. That's a big celebration. Yeah.
I'm so excited. It's going to be so beautiful to see you in person and give you a big hug and then all the beautiful people that come. And everyone, come buy a ticket. There's still tickets left, so make sure you get on there. I'll put all the links in the show notes for your website and the book launch and all of the beautiful things. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening. And I hope you all have the most magical, wonderful day being unapologetically you and unapologetically wild as a woman. And I cannot wait to be in your ears again next week. Bye, guys.